Hello, everybody. I got a feeling it's going to be a quiet Wednesday with Widget because not everybody knows that Wednesday with Widget was switched to Friday this week. I'm trying to let everybody in, so just bear with me. Can you guys hear me okay? You know I'm there? Hello, hello, everybody.
Hi, Patty.
Hi. I'm like, yes, there are people out there. They can hear me. Oh, goodness. And it's really hot in the room that I'm sitting in. So I got my water. And I got updates for you guys, and you're not going to like them. Assembly Bill 14, I think it's Assembly Bill 12. I always get those two confused. I know you guys laugh at me. It's on the ballot for voting. It's on the ballot for voting. No joke. So for those of us property managers, let's do our landlords a favor and make sure we get to keep our jobs and make sure how we vote helps our career choices. Okay. We need all the help we can get to stop this from going forward. It's no joke. It's on the ballot. Get involved with your apartment association, find who your legislators are in your area, call them, write them a letter, tell them that this is detrimental to our business. Everything that we can think of to help try to stop this. I've been watching it for quite some time, as you guys all know, and here it is at the forefront. And in the beginning, I think some of you thought, oh, Patty's crazy. They'd never do that. Here we are, told you. I knew that it was gonna have some teeth behind it because it made sense to help protect tenants better. So I knew that it would be most likely something that would pass. But now it's on the ballot for vote, which makes me really scared considering 80% of the vote is tenants, unless we get our property managers to help us. Okay, keep that in mind. So if you are in corporate America and you have hundreds of apartment communities within your corporation, please encourage all of your property managers to vote accordingly. It is going to really harm our industry. No joke. Not to mention what Gavin Newsom did that starts on September 1st regarding debt collection. Another thing that's going to really impact our industry. And for those of you using the CARES Act 3-day notice, there's a couple things you need to know about the CARES Act 3-day notice. The CARES Act, and I'm letting people in. Sorry, you guys. I'm trying. Admit all, get them in here. And it's hot where I'm at. I had fun fishing, just for the record. Best fishing trip of my life. And then I went on another boat with my brother, and it was a worse fishing trip of my life. So interesting, to say the least. Watch that assembly, that's up on the ballot for vote. I can never remember if it's 12 or 14, and I heard somebody tell it's
12.
12. It's 12. Okay, I'll remember now because it's a dozen. Okay, and it's a dozen times I can't remember what number it is. So now I'll know it's 12. I promise it's a dozen. Got it. Okay, it's saved. So Assembly Bill 12 or Senate Bill 12, whatever they've changed it to as it's climbed through the ladder, is up on the ballots for voting for this November. So make sure that you're handling that appropriately. I've been watching this for quite some time and trying to report to you guys, hey, it's on the House of the Assembly floor, it's on the Judicial Committee, they're voting for it, it's passing, it's moving up the chain. Now it's up for consumer vote. So it's on the ballot for voting, and we want to tell everybody, please vote against it. It is detrimental to our industry. Yes, Anna, that is the one on security deposits. It is Assembly Bill 12, because it's a dozen times I can't remember the number. It's Assembly Bill 12, and it will be on the ballot for vote. So definitely something that we need to spread the word about with our friends, our family, anybody you can think of, and encouraging them to help assist us with that vote. Hopefully, right, you guys? So no on Assembly Bill 12. We do not want to cap or limit our security deposit amounts. So please, I beg you, spread the word, spread it like cancer, spread it like California wildfires. They go everywhere. And let's see if we can't beat this one down. We'll try, right? More news in legislation for those of us that have to use a 3-day CARES Act notice. And what that said is that if they didn't pay the rent in 3 days, they had to be out in 30. That has now changed. If you are subject to the CARES Act, meaning you have a federally funded property or federally funded tenants, meaning Section 8, or you have a Freddie Mae or Fannie Mac loan, okay? You have to serve the new 30-day CARES Act notice to pay rent or quit. And it is 30 business days, not calendar days. So your 3-day notice for non-payment of rent just turned into 45 days because you can't count weekends and you can't count holidays. So that makes it extremely difficult for those of us that are subject to the CARES Act. And they have that much time to pay the 30 days, not counting weekends and holidays. So they have 45 days to pay you, basically. And by then, another month's owed. Garbage, but it is what it is. So everybody take note, there's a new CARES Act notice that needs to be utilized. It is no longer a 3-day to pay, a 30-day to get out. It's now 30 days to pay, and it is not counting weekends and holidays. So you're looking at a 45-day notice, give or take. And they can pay the rent within those 45 days. If they do, you must accept it. If it's the full amount on the notice. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. So we talked about the CARES Act. We talked about Assembly Bill 12. There was one more thing I wanted to tell you guys, and it'll come to me as we sit here. Does anybody have any questions? We got kind of a short group today because I switched up the days. I know, I'm sorry, I had to. And it's been a rough week for me. My aunt died yesterday. It's just been a nightmare. What are you gonna do, right? Keep working, keep moving forward. But I'm sure we're probably gonna have some questions. Watch that CARES Act notice. It's no joke now. It's not a 3:30 anymore. It's now 30 days, not straight time, business days. So that'll turn it into 40, 45-day notice. And within that time period, they can pay the rent. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. She was a second mom to me, and the last elder, if you will, in my family. So I've lost both my parents, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. She was the last one. So now it comes to brothers and sisters. And they're 20 years older than I am. So I'm not looking forward to the future. It's kind of grim as far as that goes. But hey, what are you going to do? It's part of life, right? Not much we can do about it. And I'm trying to hang in there and keep my spirits up. Thank you, you guys. I appreciate you more than you know. And all it comes down to is sometimes you're looking for an adult that's adultier than you are. And I just lost that. So now I have to find a new adult that's adultier than I am. And that's what you guys are for. You can help me. I know you can. Anything anybody wants to talk about or discuss? Erin, I saw you on here. I'm talking to the attorney. I actually texted her and told her I needed to speak with her today after court. So I should have those answers for you today. Again, I apologize about yesterday and not getting that answer to you. But early afternoon, I got some pretty bad news and I went home. Sorry. Life happened to me. It's my turn. I don't like it being my turn. I had this saying when I was younger, it was stop the world. I want to get off. It just keeps spinning, you know? Stop the world. I want to get off. I'm kind of there. All right, let's see what kind of questions you, does voting on AB 12, yep, no, this year, 23, right now, it's gonna go on the ballot in November. They'll probably word it in a way that makes it seem like it's gonna be great for landlords. You watch. It'll be worded in a weird way. So as it gets closer to the ballot, we'll watch that also. Harvey Weinstein, I think that's his name, whatever. He's the head of the AIDS Foundation. Hold on, G. Jones, I'll answer that for you in a second. The head of the AIDS Foundation is back up to his bureaucracy and bullshit. He comes back every 2 years. He has unlimited funding because he pulls it from his AIDS campaigns. We don't have the problems with AIDS as we did decades ago, and all that money needs to go somewhere. So he's adamant on helping Michael Weinstein. Thank you. I just want to call him something else, so it takes me a while to remember what his name is, because my head wants to tell you a foul language name for him, and we can't have that. Anyway, he's back at it again. He'll have his garbage on the ballot. He's trying to pass stricter rent control throughout the entire state. And he's also trying to repeal Costa-Hawkins. And everybody asked me, what would that do to us? Okay, so Costa-Hawkins allows a landlord to move back into their property, to remove it from the rental market, to sell it. It would remove all of that, so we didn't have that anymore. So we couldn't move back into our own property. We couldn't sell our property when a tenant was in possession. Yeah, that is what he's going after, along with more strict rent control laws throughout the state. So I know AGLA's gearing up a huge campaign to attack him, and they do a great job at it. We beat him last time he tried to pass some new bureaucracy and BS. And I'll keep you posted as that continues to evolve, because I'm sure I'll be involved with that as far as the apartment association goes, and helping get the word out, yard signs, everything. This is a big one, you guys. Compared to the security deposit, it is the difference between a single family residence and a corporate skyscraper. Okay. The single family residence is Assembly Bill 12 that we're also concerned with, but the skyscraper is what Wise Ass is doing. Sorry, I knew I shouldn't have said it. Weinstein, I just call him Wise Ass. The dumb Wise Ass, that's what I call him. Sorry. I would like to enter a unit to do a general inspection for water leaks, paint chips, general condition review of, use the ADLA form. I'm reading. If not, how can one, I should read this out loud. I apologize. I would like to enter a unit to do a general inspection for water leaks, paint chips, general condition review of the unit. I would like to use the AGLA form of notice to enter premises, but it does not provide an item for that type. Is the only reason to enter the unit for smoke detector inspection other than items such as workers, contractors, etc.? If not, how can I indicate that a general inspection will be done? I'm not sure what time two workers, contractors need to be in the unit, and depends on the general unit inspection. Okay, are you ready? This is an easy one, Janine. You're going to serve a 24-hour notice, and your reason for entering is a preventative maintenance inspection. Okay, so preventative maintenance inspection. And that's the reason you're entering on your unit. You might as well check smoke detectors as well. And if there's going to be workmen with you, you can check that box too. But you're doing a preventative maintenance inspection where you're going to go in and look at everything, because you're trying to do preventative maintenance, not just complete and total maintenance. Make sense? So you're looking at the eaves, you're looking at the roof, you're looking at the lifespan of paint, the wear and tear on the carpet, the things in that area, okay? Patty, what implication would bring an owner to accept a tenant to run a daycare in the property? It's required by law. You have to allow it. The new AGLA form says if you post 24-hour, you will need to mail it as well. Yeah, I've always posted and mailed it, but the reality is it's not going to get there in the mail until after the inspection. Let's be realistic. So usually mailing isn't a requirement because there's no way they're going to get it in the mail before they see it posted on the door. So it's just a technicality. Stick a stamp on it, throw it in the mail. At least you did it. Or your proof of service says you did. I hope that makes sense. And I'll leave my statement at that. I'm trying to be quiet and keep a straight face. What implication would bring an owner to accept a tenant to run a daycare in the property? They are allowed to. It's garbage, but they are allowed to. They are allowed to run a daycare. They have to notify you that they are running a daycare. You cannot require them to get insurance or anything like that. It sucks. Daycare provisions are allowed. They can have up to 8 children and not any more than that per law, or they need another worker. There's a difference between running a daycare and running a preschool. Can you post more than 24-hour notice and then mail too? Yes, you can post a 24-hour notice 30 days in advance. You just got to give at least 24-hour notice as a minimum. You can give 30 days notice on there. There's no issue with that. Tell them you're coming in next week. And always on a 24-hour notice to enter. You guys, please, I beg you, give yourself a time window. Don't put, I'll be there at 9 a.m. Okay, because if you show up at 9:01, they don't have to let you in. So I always do 9 to 11, 2 to 4, 11 to 2. Okay, give yourself a window of time. And don't put 8 to 5. That's just wrong. Give them a smaller window. You wouldn't want a window like that if you were expecting a delivery. So don't do that to them. It makes you look bad. I'm not saying it's not allowed. It just makes you look bad. Different set of facts. If you're doing major renovations on the property, the tenant's in a hotel, then you can put from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, from this date to this date, different set of facts. But if you're actually, what if they want to be there? What if they want to be there and open the door for you and allow you to come in? Give them a window of time so that they're not wasting their entire day. Because we don't want them to say that they couldn't go to work that day because you are coming in to inspect. So now you owe them their wages for the whole day and you were only there for 15 minutes. It's an argument. Don't give them an argument. It's not worth it, especially in LA. And when I say LA, I'm not talking about LA City. I'm talking about the whole damn county. And if you guys haven't been paying attention, they are now trying to implement a different type of rent control in South Pasadena, in Burbank, and we're starting to see more and more of the municipalities jump on the rent control bandwagon in LA County. And they are strict, that mayor of the county is strictly trying to protect tenants and not landlords at all. In my opinion, they're just trying to take our properties from us in that area. They're trying to drive us out of business. It's ludicrous. Does anybody have anything that they want to talk about? Something we need to get off our chest? Perfect. Yeah, just write preventative maintenance inspection. AGLA should have that on their notice. And if they don't, I will email Dan and let him know that he needs to add that as a provision on a 24-hour notice to enter. because preventative maintenance inspection is a reason to enter. And that should get you into every area of the house. If they say, oh yeah, you can come in, you just can't go into that room because someone's sleeping in there. Did they comply with the notice? Preventative maintenance would get you into every room in the house. Okay, hope that makes sense. Perfect, I'll let them know. Thank you. I will let Dan know that they need to change that or update that, or why has that been changed? Because I haven't heard of any provision that says we can't enter for preventative maintenance. It may just be that they forgot. Do they have an other box that you can check that says other? Because that's where I would, and if they don't, add one and just put preventative maintenance inspection and check that one. Make your own line. Gotcha. Okay. I will have them correct that. Any ideas to prepare for weekend storm? Yes, we're looking at 110-mile-an-hour winds plus a torrential downpour. No joke. So as far as preparing yourself, you're going to get a lot of phone calls about fences that fell down, roofs that are leaking, water intrusions. Capture, contain, divert. If it's leaking, capture it in a bucket. If you can contain it, capture, contain, or divert. So if you have water that's rushing down a driveway, put some sandbags there, some bricks along there to divert the water a different direction. Dig a trench in the yard so it has a place to drain. That's my capture, contain, divert. Remember, this is considered an act of God at no fault of the landlord. Okay? You're going to get calls about fences falling down and things of that nature. Please remember, fences are not habitability issues. They're just problems, especially if they have pets. Okay? A fence is not a habitability issue. We're going to get a lot of things about fences down. The biggest problem we're most likely going to have is going to be torrential downpours, ceiling tiles. With those types of winds, we're going to lose tiles. We're going to lose roof shingles. It's going to happen. Okay. We need to keep mind of that. I would ask tenants, hey, did you see any roof shingles? Do we have anything that we need to deal with? Do I need to come inspect after the storm to see what happened? Communicate with them. Keep it simple. Hey, I've even seen some big emails going out. Attention residents, California is set to be hit by a hurricane over the weekend. With that being said, please bring in any of your valuables that are stored outside so that the wind doesn't carry them away, and notify us of any repairs or water intrusions immediately. It's hitting on the weekend, so your emergency line is going to be ringing off the hook. Handle the habitability issues first. The fences come last. Get it? Tree falls in the driveway. You got to get that moved right away because they don't have access to get their car out of the garage. That's a problem, especially if somebody gets ill and needs ambulance or medical or anything like that. So work on the habitability issues first, and the things that happen like fences blowing down and trees blowing over that aren't blocking driveways, those come later. Deal with the water intrusions and things that tenants can withhold rent for. Make sense? If they can't not pay rent because it's an amenity instead of a habitability issue, let the amenity sit there while you work on all the habitability issues. I have no doubt if you manage a bunch of property, you could be running around like a chicken with your head cut off. For those of you that didn't see what we're talking about, there is a hurricane coming in from Mexico. Okay. It is as wide as our state. They anticipate it to hit to a category 3. It's going to come through San Diego, LA, and then inland from LA. So we're looking at it coming right through the 91 freeway, for lack of a better way to explain it, and then up over Cajon Pass and throughout the high desert. This hurricane is as wide as our state. Yeah, and people are like, okay, Patty, how do we prepare for a hurricane? How many hurricanes have we had in California, folks? All I can compare it to is that atmospheric river that we experienced. I don't know what the difference between a hurricane and an atmospheric river is, but I'm assuming that they're pretty close. One comes with high winds, one doesn't. Now we have winds and that atmospheric river coming at us. So we're going to be looking at major flooding in areas like the desert, whether it be the high desert, the low desert. We're going to be looking at some serious flooding issues. Just remember, not necessarily the landlord's fault. It's an act of God. If I could tell you guys one thing to do is make sure your insurance policies are current. Today's a good day to do that. Okay. Whew. I hope that helped. All I'm going to tell you guys is you're going to get flooded with repair requests from the damages from the storm. Prioritize those based on habitability issues and amenities. A fence is an amenity, not a habitability issue. A leaking roof is a habitability issue. Flooding from rainwater, habitability issue. Water intrusion, habitability issue, okay? Hopefully the winds aren't strong enough to bust the windows out, because that's going to be a real mess. But with high winds, we usually deal with broken windows. Tree branches get thrown into them, blah, blah, blah. When dealing with those broken windows, anytime you deal with a broken window, always ask your window repairman one question. Was the window broken from the inside out or the outside in? Because they can tell. They know. Actually, I could tell you. If the window's broken from the outside to the inside, the glass and debris will be on the inside of the property. If the window is broken from the inside out, all the glass and debris will be outside. If it was broken from the inside out, the tenant did it. I hope that makes sense to you guys. And now I feel like I'm just sitting here rambling. So could somebody ask me a question or something so I don't feel so uncomfortable at the moment? Anything? Am I out here talking to myself? Nothing? I get nothing? Can you guys hear me? I can see you're all still there.
Patty,
Yes.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Are you able to go onto your single family property if you want to cut some roses or take some fruit off the trees if it's rented?
Here's the problem, okay? What's the lease contract say about the fruit on the trees?
Nothing.
So technically it belongs to the person that's paying the rent.
Interesting. Okay.
Think about it like real property. Okay, as a real estate agent, if you sell a piece of vacant land that's being used for farming, the person that's been paying to farm on that land owns those crops and not the owner of the property. So I'm trying to look at it that way. If the tenant has been paying the water bill to water that tree that's growing that fruit, whose crop is that?
Mm.
Okay, so if
Mhm.
you don't specify in your written contract, the fruit belongs to them. The flowers belong to them. So could you go do some landscaping? Absolutely. Oh, you heard me because you giggled.
Yes.
Yes, you could do some landscaping. Absolutely, you can do landscaping. So if you need to go remove all the fruit from the tree because it's rotting and get that all cleaned up off the ground so it doesn't keep dropping everywhere, that's landscaping.
And the gardener can also cut or remove and just happen to leave it for me. Mhm. Okay.
I have a huge apple tree. And when I say huge, this thing's freaking massive. Okay. I usually get between 10 to 15 bushels of apples off of one tree. No joke. This year I got less than one. The top of my tree rotted from the sun. The middle of my tree rotted from the heat, and the lower part of my tree that was in the shade survived. So I had to pick up quite a bit of rotten apples off my tree because they were rotting off the top before they were ripe on the bottom. It's been a very strange year for fruit production based on the weather. Okay. So with that said, you have a right to do landscaping. So if you need to go clean up dead fruit and pick the rest of it off so that it doesn't litter the yard, then you're doing landscaping.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. That's the way I would look at it. I would just tell them, oh, I have to clean this up. Somebody needs to clean this up. It looks like garbage. I saw another question come through. Let me go see. Did you catch any fish? Anna? I caught on the first, I went on 2 fishing trips. On the first fishing trip I went on, I caught the most fish I've ever caught in my life. Not only me, but the whole boat. I limited out on rock cod, white sea bass. One I caught was even with my shoulder, and I caught 5 of them. And then I caught 4 halibut, and it was my first halibut. Best fishing trip of my life. No joke, okay? Went on another fishing trip with my brother, first time ever going deep sea with my brother, and I caught a mackerel off the dock. I caught a kelp bass that was too short and got thrown back, and I caught 1 sheephead that we could keep. My brother didn't catch anything. I skunked his butt. He's 20 years older than I am, and his friend said to him, hey, come on over here. I got a fish on. You can reel it in. So he reeled it in. He reeled in this fish, and then they all turned and looked at me, and I said, I was watching. I saw that. He didn't catch it. And it was fishing with my brother's friends, so they were all teasing him, telling him his little sister skunked him. So I just wanted to feed on that a little bit and have some fun with it, as, hey, you got skunked by your sister. Because, you know, that never happens. I'm the little sister, so hey. But fishing trip was amazing. If anybody wants halibut or white sea bass fillets, rock cod, lingcod, whitefish, I got you. Just let me know. Because I did some fishing. Do you send out a pre-move out inspection letter? How many days before move out is this necessary to keep a portion of the security deposit if necessary? G. Jones, let's talk about that. There are 3 times you do not have to give a pre-move out inspection notice. One is eviction, one is abandonment, and one is surrender. So what I'm talking about is if you're doing an eviction, you don't have to give them a pre-move out inspection. You're evicting. If all of a sudden they call you and tell you, I moved out, the keys are there, that's abandonment. No, that's surrender. Sorry, that's surrender because they surrendered the property. You don't have to give the notice then. And the other one is abandonment, where the neighbor calls and says, hey, nobody's been there for like 3 months. What are you doing? And then you find out the property's been abandoned. So those are the 3 times you do not have to offer a pre-move out inspection. Every other time it's required by law. So if your tenant gives you a 30-day notice, I respond with giving them a right to pre-move out inspection notification. If I give someone a 30-day, a 60-day, or a 90-day notice to vacate, I also serve a pre-move out inspection form because it's required by law. Let me tell you where it bites you. Does this mean you have to go do the inspection? No, not unless the tenant requests it. So you're not required to do anything unless the tenant says, yes, I want the pre-move out inspection. Then you go there 2 weeks prior to them moving out to tell them what they need to do to get their security deposit back. You need to put that in writing. You must have the carpets cleaned, have all of your personal items removed, blah, 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 blah. You have to give it to them in writing of what they have to do to get their deposit back. I saw the question come in and I'm trying to go down my train of thought of process and procedure before I answer the question. But I got you. All you have to do is serve them that notice. If you don't, this is where it bites you. You get into small claims court and the tenant's suing you for their security deposit. If you didn't notify them of their right to a pre-move out inspection, you legally cannot deduct anything from their security deposit amount. You lose. Case dismissed. Go home. Actually, it's not dismissed. It's judgment for the tenant. You have to give them their deposit back. Go home. You lose. So that pre-move out inspection is detrimental. I actually have it attached to my 30 days, my 60 days, and my 90 days, so I don't forget to send it if I'm terminating tenancy. If a tenant gives me a notice that they're terminating, it's the first thing I respond with. Okay, you can send it more than 30 days, you got to get it out there. What if the tenant doesn't want the pre-move out inspection? Hit the easy button. You're required to offer it to them. If they acknowledge that they want the inspection, then you must complete the inspection. And it's telling them what they have to do to get their deposit back. You must clean the carpets. You must remove all your personal belongings. You must, whatever it is that they need to do, fix the basketball size hole in the wall, whatever it is. Remove the modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord. Unless, of course, you like those modifications. One time, there was this one time back in band camp. No, I'm being honest with you. There was this one time I had a tenant that said, "Hey, Patty, can I put in granite countertops? I really want to fix this up so it's up to my standards." She was a loan officer for a car dealership. So she did all the car loans. She made bank, okay? She put in travertine floors. She put in cabinets. She put some money into that place. I let her live there for 3 years. And then I offered the house to her for purchase. She said, "No, I don't want to buy the house. I just want to live here." And I said, "Well, I'm going to have to sell it. So I'm offering it to you first." And she said, "No, I don't want to buy." And I said, "Okay." Offered it to her first right of refusal. And then I listed it for sale. I was thinking I was going to get $300,000 because of her upgrades. I made a nice little profit off that property, and she ended up having to move. No hard feelings. She then came back and tried to sue me for all the money she spent fixing that house up. My rental contract saved me. I allowed her to make modifications to the property, and I did it in writing. I didn't do anything wrong.
In that, did you say that she had to return it to original?
Absolutely not. I allowed her to make those modifications. I didn't want her to return it. I wanted the travertine floors and the granite countertops. But she wanted the property to be livable at her standards. So she started asking if she could do these modifications. I allowed it. I allowed it in writing. Why in the hell wouldn't you let somebody upgrade your property at their expense? I let her live there for 5 years. It's not like I waited for her to complete the work and then did it. I was nice about it. I didn't even raise her rent for the 5 years she lived there.
Did you require her to use your contractors?
She used my contractors anyway. Who do you have that can do this? Who do you have that can do that? What I'm talking about is a tenant that you get once every 300 tenants, okay? 1 out of 300. You don't get them all the time, but they're out there. I had one once in 35 years. tenant verbally said no pre-move out inspection was wanted. You know how you send them that pre-move out inspection notice? And there's a place for them to fill out and sign and give it back to you that they want that inspection? If they didn't do anything, then neither do you. You don't have to do anything except your final inspection. Don't push them to do a pre-move out inspection. It just makes you work harder. All you're obligated to do is offer it to them. If they want it, then you are obligated to perform the inspection, giving them a written list of everything that they need to do to get their deposit back. I'd mail out the notice and not just offer that verbally. That way you have the documentation to cover your asset in court. Because what you're now speaking of is her word versus your word, and you know where that gets us in this state. Provide them the document. If she doesn't return it to you signed with the date she wants to schedule, then you don't have to do anything. Yeah, she's just going to say you never offered it because it's an oral. There's no proof. How are you going to prove it to the judge? Remember, everything you do, you got to be able to prove to a judge. Unless you're knocking and talking, and that means you don't want any evidence. All right, does anybody have anything else? Because it's hot in here and I'm going to end this. So if a tenant moves out before they request the initial move out inspection and pays rent in full for 30 days more, when is the deposit refund? If a tenant moves out before they request the initial move out inspection and pays the rent in 30 days, when is their deposit refund due? 21 days after they vacate the unit. You have 21 days from the day they vacate. From the day they're locked out, from the day that it's surrendered, from the day that it's found abandoned, you have 21 days. That's it. Unless you do an estimated disposition of security deposit, that could buy you 6 months or a year, depending on what the extent of the damage is. I hope that answered that question. And that what I just told you, Anna, was for residential. For commercial, it's 30 days. Do you guys know that for commercial, you don't have to provide receipts? What? It costs $5,000 for a carpet and it costs $10,000 to have the unit painted. And I pulled those numbers out of thin air and now that's how much the tenant owes me. Welcome to commercial management. Big difference, huh? Commercial and residential. Commercial doesn't have fair housing. Commercial doesn't necessarily have habitability issues depending on what kind of contract they're on. A net, a triple net, or a gross lease. Sorry, I'm not trying to bombard you with commercial rules. It's just the one I always try to remember. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Does anybody have anything else? And I'll try to get them to post a couple pictures on my Widget's Way Facebook page if you guys want to see my fish, because I have never, ever in my life seen the back deck of a boat that full of fish. And they were all game fish, halibut and white sea bass, and I had to tiptoe through them to get pictures. Can rent be increased in City of Los Angeles? No, they're on a rent freeze. Agla's actually suing City of LA. Could rent be increased in LA? Nope, rent freeze. What does end commercial mean? Belsie, what are you asking me? We're talking about the difference between a commercial property and a residential property. A residential disposition of security deposit needs to be done within 21 days. In commercial property, it's 30 days. I hope that answered your question. In commercial property, could the rent be increased in LA? Oh, I don't know that. I don't know that. I'm gonna have to go ask Belsey. That's a good damn question. I would think no, because they're on a rent freeze, but I don't know if that rent increase freeze has to do with residential dwellings only or commercial dwellings. That's a good question. I don't know the answer. Do you want me to go find out? Because I will, and then I'll come right back. Because that's a good question. That's a real good question. I don't know. I'd have to look at the ordinance. I can tell you the AGLA and the AOA are suing the city of Los Angeles for this freaking rent freeze BS. Not today, next time, but don't forget about me. I won't. And thank you for saying that, because, you know, sometimes there's a lot of things going on in this little space of my head. Anybody have anything else? I'm gonna get out of here and go eat my lunch. Nothing? All right. Bye, everybody. You guys have a great weekend. You know how to find me. Make sure that you tell everybody, and I mean everybody, about Assembly Bill 12. We don't want that. That's going to harm us. That's going to suck. That's going to be Suck City. All right, you guys have a great weekend. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.